There was a great caption that one of the writers for a former New York Times writer thought up in describing what is happening with the headlines around this country as news outlets want to scare America to death about the COVID-19. He calls it panic porn, and I love it. And he basically went through some examples. There's a great piece. If you go to our website, americacanwetalk.org, on the homepage, under shows, drop down list of links. All these articles are linked there. But this one writer, used to be for the New York Times, he just talked about the headlines that make America think the cases are expanding, and the danger is expanding. And he gave some examples of headlines that sounded like, Texas in particular is just about falling apart. And so he talked about some things that are really happening, news he gets in his job. He talked about, for example, in Monday, a doctor was reporting to him that in a Texas-based healthcare company that owns 13 freestanding clinics that basically have been testing more people. The positive rate is now close to 20%, which he's saying is not a bad thing. It means people have been exposed and they did not have a serious case and they did not end up in the hospital and they didn't need a ventilator. He said the positive rate is now close to 20%, whereas in May it was 4 to 6%. Also said vast majority of cases are mild to very mild symptoms. Average age of the people getting tested is in the mid-30s. And he was on to talk about the death rate declining, hospitalizations declining. And yet, if you read the headlines in this country, you would think that we are in a pandemic that is surging and we're about to all suffer a terrible fate. Panic porn, don't buy into it. Another thing I want to share in our first five today related to coronavirus is you can read these around the country. I'm just sharing where I happen to be in Dallas, Texas. We've had Dr. Yvette Lozano on this show, who treats patients who have COVID-19 with hydroxychloroquine. We've had Dr. Robin Armstrong on the show talking about the same thing. There was a great long posting today on Facebook, and if any of you email me, because I know you like to email, if you email me at americacanwetalk@gmail.com, I will send you a link to this posting this one doctor did, who's just about exploding, saying, look, I'm here in McKinney, Texas. I'm a board-certified family physician, been treating COVID-19. He's talking about, number one, he's finding that people are getting better. They have hospitalization rates diminishing. They have ICU diminishing. He talked about how hydroxychloroquine's been so successful. He just feels like he's living in an alternate reality. He sees it successful, and yet somehow the headlines sound like we aren't solving anything and that we're headed for disaster. Restrictions increasing in Texas, closing down bars, reducing the number of people who can be in restaurants. He's talking about that the facts that he sees in his everyday life practice don't fit the reality that the government and the media seems to be trying to present. And basically, he's just saying America needs to be awake to this because American people need to be standing up and saying, you know what, we want to find solutions. The solutions actually should be, everyone should want that. Everyone in government, everyone in the medical profession, everyone in America and in the media should all want to have the best news they have, the most factual news they can get about coronavirus, COVID-19, and where we really are. This doctor is just kind of like a voice in the wilderness saying, why in the world can't we get this news out there? Last quick point in today's first five, and I'll wrap it up. So Vice President Pence was giving a speech and talking about some of the data. He was also making the point that 50%, half of the new cases of coronavirus cases are coming from Arizona, California, Florida, and Texas. And so leaving Florida out of the equation for a moment, Arizona, California, and Texas have in common border states. They are border states with a serious problem, people coming over the border and bringing coronavirus problems with them. We do not have in the American population a surge in coronavirus cases that justifies our drive toward increased restrictions in this country. Well, I'm going to say, I'm wrapping up the first five with that. I do think that it's important to understand, in talking about coronavirus, I respect people's decisions to live their lives the way they want. If you want to stay home, if you believe you're compromised, if you believe you're just fearful, it's one thing to say. To me, the issue has always been about what is the role of government and what is the right of government to keep you, to limit your freedom based on a health scare. And we've had, in fact, Senator Bob Hall joined the show last week or 2 weeks ago talking about, too, in Texas, the extraordinary restrictions being put in place when they're not justified by the facts. But I want to wrap up. Really, I'm wrapping up the first 5 with this point. Everyone in America should care very much about finding solutions to coronavirus, to fighting the spread, to finding solutions to people who really suffer from COVID-19. We all should care. There's a growing sense among a significant portion of Americans that this problem of coronavirus is being manipulated politically by people with an agenda other than finding out a way to deal with the coronavirus, an agenda to push America ultimately toward becoming more subservient to the government, to become more willing to do what they're told by the government in terms of staying in their homes, not opening their businesses, wearing masks, all the things the government is saying. And ultimately it appears that many in government are trying to drive America toward agreeing that the only solution is a vaccine, and the only solution with a vaccine is that everyone just has to stay home until it's ready, and then everyone's going to have to take it. We're being driven to a vaccine-only solution, and plenty of Americans are saying, I don't think so. And that, my very fine friends, is today's First Five.